Holiday Affair from 1949 was an enjoyable Christmas romantic comedy featuring Janet Leigh as a war widow with a young son about to marry her longtime boyfriend and business minded lawyer played by Wendell Corey when, wouldn't you know it, she just happens to accidentally meet an easygoing department store salesman played by none other than Robert Mitchum, who takes a fancy to her. Yes, folks, it's the classic holiday love triangle story set in a snowy city with some fun twists and turns. I'll give a summary of the film, spoiler free, and then offer some closing thoughts. Well, the film opens up at the toy department of a major store in the city, and we have the character Steve, played by Robert Mitchum. He's giving a demo of a cool model train. Yes, suspend disbelief, this is Robert Mitchum playing a toy salesman in a department store. Well, Janet Leigh shows up as the character of Connie and orders one of these trains. She then gets on the phone with her company to report comparison prices. So apparently this is her job, to compare these toy prices. Well, she heads home and she's greeted by her son Timmy, who's played by actor Gordon Gebert. And it's nice to see Janet Leigh smile. I guess I see her mostly in serious film roles like Manchurian Candidate. And it's nice to see her, be a little bit happy here when she sees her son. I guess maybe if Anthony Perkins is trying to kill you when you're taking a shower, that might make you a little less than happy. But in any case, her story is that she is a single mother. Her husband has died in World War II. So she's come home, her son's happy to see her, and he sneaks a peek at the toy train that she has brought home. He's thinking it might be for him, but he's sad to find out that it's actually not. Well, the character of Carl shows up. He's played here by Wendell Corey. And he's apparently been dating Connie for a while. Now, Wendell Corey I remember from the movie Rear Window. He was Jimmy Stewart's detective friend in that movie. So he's there, and he's casually doing some dishes, and he proposes to Connie. But she's still not quite ready. He's ready for marriage, but she just isn't there yet. And a little bit later that night, as she tucks Timmy into bed, Timmy doesn't seem all that overly thrilled with the idea of Carl as a stepdad. Well, the next day, Connie goes back to the department store to return the toy train. Now, Steve is there, and he pretty much has her pegged as a comparison shopper. So she's busted, and he's about to report her to management, but hearing her story, he decides to let her go. But turns out he loses his job for doing this. So Connie finds out about this and goes to see him to make it up to him, and all he asks of her is to go out to lunch together, since he can no longer eat with the guys at the store anymore. So they go to Central Park to eat hot dogs and watch the seals together. He opens up to her about how after the war he wanted to go into building these miniature ships, but the plans didn't quite work out. And they have a nice time together, just walking around, almost like a date, and he offers to help her to actually go out and do some of her comparison shopping, and says he will pose as her friend. So after making a big haul together at the store, and there's a big crowd of people, they accidentally get separated as she gets onto a trolley. So Connie heads home, where Carl is there already. He's decorating the tree with Timmy. And she gives him a kiss, and Timmy doesn't seem all that happy about it. Now, around this point, Steve shows up. He's got all the boxes that she wasn't able to bring back. And we find out that he tracked her down and made the trip to bring these back to her. And of course, this is the awkward meeting of Carl and Steve.
Looks as though we might have a white Christmas.
That's right. Never seems like Christmas unless it is white.
That's right.
Well, after the two of them have some conversation with one another, they have their drinks, and it's here that Steve goes and meets with Timmy and asks him, some obligatory questions that adults ask kids. But when Carl starts to talk about marriage, Timmy just loses it. He snaps at Carl, says, "You're not my dad," and he, heads off to his room. Steve is ready to leave, but he doesn't pull his punches, and he tells Connie how she needs to just let go of the past and stop trying to make her son into her deceased husband. And he really cuts into her. And he does it in that cool Robert Mitchum manner, of course. Well, he's about to leave, but he stops by to say goodbye to Timmy and give him some fatherly advice about how, if you aim for the moon, aim a little bit higher and you'll reach it. It's almost fatherly advice that he gives to him, and it's a sweet scene. And then before he leaves, he says goodbye to Connie in his, well, Robert Mitchum sort of way. Well, Carl takes Connie to dinner, and over dry martinis, he tells her that he will try to be a good stepdad to Timmy when they finally get married, and she proposes that they have a New Year's wedding. Oh, I don't know. Well, it's Christmas morning, and Timmy is thrilled with his new toy train, apparently from Santa. Connie seems confused of where it came from. So this is not the one that she tried to return. This was another mystery train that just showed up. So over a breakfast of cornflakes, she reveals to Timmy that it was actually a gift from Steve. And of course, Timmy is interested in seeing him again. Because let's be honest, he's a cooler potential stepdad, right? So Connie goes and sees Steve at the Central Park, and he's almost broke. But when she offers to give him money, he refuses it. And she tells him, she's going to marry this Carl guy, and Steve thinks it's a bad idea, but she leaves, and he says goodbye for now. Well, Connie's parents show up for a visit. They're played by actors Griff Barnett and Esther Dale, and they've apparently heard all about this Steve from Timmy, and she has to set them straight that she's actually marrying Carl. Well, soon Carl shows up, and they're about to open presents when Mr. Johnson from the police department shows up, and it turns out Steve is at the police station. He's been accused of robbery, and this officer says Connie can come down to the station and help clear it up. So she, Carl, and Timmy, they head down to the station, and the lieutenant, played by Harry Morgan of MASH fame, describes a situation that Steve is accused of mugging a man and so on. Carl, who is actually an attorney, offers on the spot to represent Steve, and the lieutenant hears all about the details of this weird and interesting relationship that he and Connie have. But after all the confusing details come out, it's understood to be a misunderstanding. Steve is dismissed, and he plans to head to California for a job. And Carl even offers to help him financially. Of course, get him out of town. But they offer him dinner first. The grandpa makes a nice toast to his wife and to Carl and to Connie, and even makes a well-intentioned toast to Steve that he will do well. Then when goaded to make a toast as well, Steve makes one of thank you and goodbye. And then drops a bombshell and basically says he's a better choice for Connie to marry than Carl. And he really puts all his cards on the table here. But Connie, though, tells him he needs to go. So Steve leaves. So we cut to Timmy at the department store. He's there by himself. He's gone to try to return his train, but he has a problem with the store clerk, and he goes right to Mr. Crowley's office. He's the store manager. Secretary brings him in to meet with this Mr. Crowley. It's actor Henry O'Neill I've seen in other films like The Santa Fe Trail. And even though this appointment interrupts his meditation hour, he goes ahead and he sees Timmy, who just wants to return the train, to get some money from it, and he tells the truth. He wants to give this to Mr. Steve. Well, Mr. Crowley seems like a good sort of fellow when he listens to the story from Timmy, all the way from the beginning. Now, Connie and Carl think Timmy's missing. They go looking for him, and thankfully he has gotten a ride home from this kindly old Mr. Crowley, and Timmy got the money back, and he wants Steve to have it. He says the train just wasn't as much fun without Steve. So Carl and Connie, they're going to head to bring Steve the money. But at this point, what will happen if Connie sees him again? Will she pick Steve over Carl? What will she do? Well, you know my policy on the channel. I try not to give out spoilers, so you'll have to check out the ending of this one for yourself. So let me give some closing thoughts on this film. Holiday Affair came out in 1949. It was produced by RKO, and the film was produced and directed by Don Hartman. It's interesting, the director actually makes a brief Hitchcock-style cameo in the film, leaving a phone booth. The film was initially released on Christmas Eve, 1949. It didn't do as well at the box office, but in recent years it's grown in popularity thanks to channels like TCM bringing attention to it. Now, apparently the story with this is that RKO head Howard Hughes had Robert Mitchum take part in this film in a role that was a little more wholesome, more of a romantic character, in order to help repair his image after his arrest for marijuana possession the previous year. Now, I have to admit, watching this, it didn't really feel like typical Robert Mitchum. I mean, he's generally known for playing tough guy roles, crime, westerns, and so on. Now, he sort of works here in this role, but I don't know, it almost feels like he's better suited to play the cool detective or the reformed criminal, not a toy store clerk. Now, while researching some of the trivia of the film regarding Howard Hughes, he apparently had a bad reputation of taking a special interest in his actresses, even going so far as to have a private investigator follow Janet Leigh around, apparently having something of a romantic interest in her, a little creepy. I mean, she was 22 and very attractive, and Hughes invited her to the studio late at night to view some wardrobe tests. Well, she knew better, and she brought along her dad, who stayed with her all night. It was pretty clever thinking, actually. Now, my thoughts on the film was that this was an enjoyable Christmas-themed romance. Maybe not for everyone, and at times, well, the pacing could feel a little slow. But all told, it's a nice story and how it resolves, and I especially liked those scenes of tension between Robert Mitchum's character and that of Wendell Corey's character. And let's be honest, you can probably guess the outcome of this romance with Janet Leigh. Having to decide between the cool, chill, fatherly Mitchum and the uptight, structured Wendell Corey character. But all the same, it's fun to watch. I like their tension, and the story really unfolds in a fun way. Now, again, this didn't really feel like the right fit for Robert Mitchum, but he's just such an awesome screen presence. You can't help but go along with him, regardless of the fact that he's playing a mellow toy salesman. By the way, I was researching the film. Look at the movie poster of this tough Mitchum. Let me just tell you, Mitchum is not doing the tough guy noir here. It's nothing like this poster. It was also noteworthy to me, child actor Gordon Gebert as Timmy. He did a good job in his role here, and I do have to give him credit, as he had a number of important scenes to the film, namely his big effort to return that toy train to help out Steve and his appeal to the store manager. He did his role well here, considering the big names that he was acting with. Granted, his voice can get a little shrill at times, but he was good here. And his hitting it off with Mitchum's character in the film. Those scenes were really some of the sweeter ones of the film. And he was really fond of that toy train, but his caring for Steve showed he was willing to make a sacrifice for him. So I thought he did a good job here. I guess you could say there were parallels of this film to films like Miracle on 34th Street. It was set largely in department stores. But honestly, to me, this was more of a romantic comedy and drama with all of the actors who were just excellent in their roles. Again, nothing too deep here. And maybe it's a little predictable, but it's still fun to watch how things unfold. Holiday Affair from 1949 was an enjoyable Christmas movie. It had some good acting, it's a fun little story, sweet romance, and it's definitely one worth checking out.